Great Brink's Robbery. January 17, 1950. Boston, Massachusetts. Inside the North Terminal garage, 7 men walk into the Brink's building. They wear pea coats, chauffeur caps, and rubber Halloween masks. Each carries a .38 revolver. It is just after 7 p.m. The vault is open, the guards are few. Within minutes, 5 employees are tied up, gagged, and helpless. For 20 tense minutes, the gang loads canvas bags with cash, checks, and securities. The take? $2.775 million. In today's money, more than $36 million. At the time, it is the largest robbery in American history. $1 million in coins is left behind. The bags are simply too heavy. By 7:37, one of the Brink's employees managed to free himself and raise the alarm. The crime had been years in the making. Starting in 1947, the group studied Brink's movements, copied keys, and even stole vehicles for their getaway. At last, on that cold January night, their planning paid off, and their escape was clean. Boston police swarmed the city. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover personally supervised the case. But the thieves left almost nothing behind, just rope, tape, and a cap. For years, the crime seemed unsolvable. Newspapers called it the crime of the century. But greed and betrayal began to tear the gang apart. Joseph Specs O'Keefe, wounded in a botched hit job, finally broke his silence. Days before the statute of limitations expired in 1956, he named names. Arrests followed. 8 men were sentenced to life. 2 were dead before trial. 1 died in prison. Yet the money itself, nearly all of it, was gone. Only $58,000 of the $2.7 million was recovered. The Great Brink's Robbery left America stunned. It showed the power of patience, planning, and violence, but also the fragility of trust among criminals. A heist so daring, it became legend, etched forever in the dark history of American crime. September 12, 1997, Los Angeles, California. 6 men prepare for a heist that would shake America's basement. At the center is Alan Pace III, a trusted safety inspector at Dunbar Armored. He knows the depot inside and out. He has photographed the vault, memorized guard routines, staff schedules, and timed the cameras. Just a day earlier, he was fired. Tonight, he strikes back. With 5 childhood friends, Eric Boyd, Eugene Hill, Freddie McCrary, Terry Brown, and Thomas Johnson, Pace puts his plan in motion. They attend a house party for their alibi, then slip away. Using Pace's keys, they enter the facility just after midnight. One by one, guards are ambushed in the cafeteria. Tied up, silenced with duct tape, powerless. The vault is wide open. It always is on Friday nights. In 30 minutes, the men load $18.9 million into a U-Haul truck. No alarms, no shots fired. Every move precise. And then, they return to the party as if nothing ever happened. The police immediately suspect an inside job. Their eyes turn to Pace, but he left almost no trace, only a broken plastic taillight from the getaway truck. Investigators come up empty. For 2 years, the gang hides the money, laundering it through real estate, fake companies, and the help of immigration lawyer David Matsumoto and his assistant Joaquin Ben. Then, one careless mistake. Hill pays a broker with cash still bound in Dunbar straps. Suspicion grows. The police are alerted. Hill is arrested, and under pressure, he confesses, naming every man involved. In 2001, justice comes. Pace receives 24 years in prison, Boyd 17 years, the others 8 to 10. Matsumoto and Ben are sentenced for money laundering. Only $5 million is recovered. The rest, nearly $14 million, vanishes into history. The Dunbar robbery remains the largest cash heist in American history, a crime built on trust, undone by a single careless slip. March 24, 1972. Laguna Niguel, California. A quiet town, a new bank, and beneath it, a vault holding millions in cash and valuables. On this night, 7 men from Ohio arrive with one purpose: to break into the heart of the bank. The mastermind is Emil Dinzio, a professional burglar with a reputation for precision. His brother James, an explosives expert, is by his side. Nephews Harry and Ronald Barber join, along with brother-in-law Charles Mulligan, alarm expert Phil Christopher, and a Cleveland thief named Charles Brockle. Using dynamite, James blasts through the reinforced concrete roof of the vault. Christopher disables the alarms.
Inside, they pry open safe deposit boxes, stuffing cash and valuables into bags. By morning, nearly $9 million, today worth almost $68 million, is gone. For a time, it looks like the perfect crime. No alarms triggered, no immediate suspects. But the crew makes a mistake. Months later, they attempt a similar burglary in Ohio. The FBI links the jobs, tracks flight records, and learns 5 of the men flew into California together. The rented townhouse is searched. At first, nothing. Then, in the dishwasher, the breakthrough. Dirty dishes with untouched fingerprints. One by one, the crew is arrested. Testimonies seal their fate. Charles Brockle turns on his partners for immunity. Earl Dawson, a witness, is bribed to change his story, but instead testifies under protection. The Dinzio crew is convicted. Some of the loot is recovered, but millions vanish forever. The Unified California Bank burglary became one of the boldest heists in American history. It inspired books, documentaries, and even films. But beyond the legend lies the truth. Careful planning, one careless mistake, and a fortune that disappeared into the shadows of 1970s America.
The John Dillinger Robberies. Born June 22, 1903 in Indianapolis, a troubled boy who lost his mother at just 4. His father was strict, and John quickly turned to petty crime. By his 20s, he was stealing cars, fighting, and even deserting the Navy. A small grocery store robbery sent him to prison, 10 to 20 years. But prison became his school. Inside, he met hardened criminals and learned the art of bank robbery. By 1933, he had a gang, the Dillinger Gang. Together, they robbed more than 20 banks and even 4 police stations. He became a master planner, using fast cars, safe houses, and firepower. Crowds cheered him as a Depression-era Robin Hood. Newspapers made him a celebrity, but lawmen saw him as America's most dangerous outlaw. His escape from Crown Point Jail in Indiana in March 1934 became legend. Whether by real gun or a carved wooden pistol, he simply walked free. Soon after, his gang struck banks in South Dakota and Iowa. In Minnesota, a shootout left him wounded, forcing him into hiding. He sought doctors, safe houses, even plastic surgery to disguise himself. Still, agents tracked his every move. The Bureau of Investigation, led by J. Edgar Hoover, used Dillinger to justify its transformation into the modern FBI. Wiretaps, surveillance, nationwide coordination, tools sharpened in the hunt for him. In July 1934, a betrayal sealed his fate. A brothel owner, Anna Companage, tipped off agents that Dillinger would be at Chicago's Biograph Theater. On July 22nd, he stepped into the night air. Agents closed in. Dillinger ran, but 4 bullets ended his life. His death shocked America. To some, he was a folk hero. To others, a ruthless killer. But his story changed law enforcement forever, turning the FBI into the nation's frontline defense against organized crime.
Lufthansa cargo heist. December 11, 1978, New York City. In the dead of night, at John F. Kennedy International Airport, a black van rolls toward Lufthansa's cargo terminal. Inside, 6 masked men. Their mission? To pull off the biggest cash robbery America had ever seen. At 3 a.m., they strike. Employees are rounded up at gunpoint, forced onto the floor, faces pressed to the ground. Fear hangs heavy in the room. Outside, the vault doors open. Box after box is hauled out, 72 cartons filled with untraceable money and jewels. When the van finally pulls away, it carries $5 million in cash and nearly $875,000 in jewelry. In today's money, more than $28 million. At the time, it is the largest heist in U.S. history. Behind it all stands James Burke, a feared associate of New York's Lucchese crime family. He never faces charges for the robbery, but whispers spread. Burke is cleaning house. One by one, the men who helped him disappear, murdered, buried, erased, so that Burke alone controls the fortune and no one can point a finger at him. The FBI swarms JFK Airport, bugging phones, tracking suspects, chasing shadows. They find the getaway van, abandoned, fingerprints inside. But beyond that, nothing. No money, no jewels, no trail. In the end, only one man is convicted, Louis Werner, an airport worker who leaked the inside information. He serves 15 years. Everyone else walks free. Arrests come as late as 2014, but still, no convictions, no recovery. The stolen millions vanish into the underworld. What remains is legend, a daring robbery, a trail of bodies, and a mystery that haunts America's history of crime. The Lufthansa heist, a perfect score that cost countless lives.
The Manhattan Savings Institution heist. October 27, 1878, Manhattan, New York City. At the corner of Broadway and Bleecker Street stood the Manhattan Savings Institution, a proud six-story building home to one of the city's wealthiest banks. Its clients were giants of the age: Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie. Inside, behind iron walls, lay millions in cash and securities. But for years, one man had been studying it: George Leonidas Leslie, an architect turned criminal mastermind. He was said to be behind nearly 80% of bank robberies in America during the decade. Leslie built replicas of vaults, bribed guards, even invented tools like the Little Joker to crack locks. For 3 years, he and his gang rehearsed for the biggest job of all, the Manhattan Savings Institution. But before the heist, the gang fractured. In Maine, a failed robbery ended with the death of a cashier. Suspicion grew. They feared Leslie might betray them. And by June, Leslie was found dead near Yonkers, shot in the head and heart. Many believed his own partners silenced him. Without their leader, the gang pressed on. On that October morning, janitor Louis Werkel awoke to masked men breaking into his apartment. With guns at his head, he was forced to hand over the vault combination. Inside the bank, their inside man, night watchman Patrick Shevlin, unlocked the doors. Within hours, the gang had stripped the safes, walking away with $2.7 million. In today's value, more than $65 million. The largest heist America had ever seen. The investigation that followed was one of the biggest in New York's history. Informants whispered names, arrests mounted, and Shevlin eventually confessed. Much of the fortune was recovered, though $15,000 was never found. The robbery stunned America. It revealed how greed, betrayal, and careful planning could break even the strongest fortress. And it cemented George Leslie's legacy, not just as a thief, but as the architect of America's greatest bank robbery.
Loomis Fargo Bank Robbery, October 4, 1997, Charlotte, North Carolina. Inside the regional office of Loomis, Fargo and Company, millions in cash sat sealed in a heavily guarded vault. By dawn the next day, it would be gone. The mastermind was not an outsider, but a trusted employee, David Scott Gant, a vault supervisor. Lonely, restless, and caught in an affair with former co-worker Kelly Campbell. Through her, he was introduced to Steve Chambers, a smooth talker with dreams of fast wealth. Together, they planned one of the boldest cash robberies in American history. That evening, Gant sent a trainee home early. Then, in the quiet of the vault, he loaded bag after bag of money into a Loomis armored van. By the time he finished, $17.3 million was gone, $11 million of it in bulky stacks of 20s. Outside, Campbell and the gang waited. They shifted the fortune into getaway cars. For his escape, Gant pocketed just $50,000, the most he could legally carry across the border, and fled to Mexico. The next morning, when Loomis staff couldn't open the vault, police were called. The FBI soon took over. Surveillance tapes showed Gant himself hauling the cubes of cash. Days later, the abandoned van was found, with $3.3 million left behind. The thieves had miscalculated. From the start, Gant was the prime suspect, but the trail didn't end there. Chambers, flush with stolen money, ignored the gang's pact to lie low. He and his wife Michelle moved into a mansion, bought luxury cars, and even a velvet Elvis painting. Their careless spending drew attention. A slip at a bank, Michelle asking how much she could deposit before it was reported, sealed their fate. In Mexico, Gant grew desperate. Chambers sent him little and secretly plotted to have him killed, but the FBI traced his calls, and by March 1998, Gant was arrested in Playa del Carmen. Days later, Chambers, Campbell, and others were in handcuffs. In total, 24 people faced charges. Sentences ranged from probation to more than 11 years in prison. Gant served 7, Chambers over 11. Nearly 88% of the money was recovered. The rest, over $2 million, vanished forever. The heist was mocked as the hillbilly robbery, yet it stood a second to the largest cash theft on U.S. soil. A tale of greed, betrayal, and carelessness, proving that even the biggest payday can't buy a clean getaway.
Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist. March 18, 1990, Boston, Massachusetts. In the early hours of the morning, Two men disguised as police officers pull up outside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. It is quiet, just after St. Patrick's Day celebrations. The guards on duty, Rick Abath and Randy Heston, are young and underpaid. When the fake officers ring the buzzer, Abath lets them in. He thinks it's just routine. It is the biggest mistake of his life. Within minutes, both guards are handcuffed, blindfolded, and locked in the basement. The thieves now have the museum to themselves. For the next 81 minutes, they move calmly through the galleries. In the Dutch room, they slash masterpieces from their frames. The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, Rembrandt's only seascape, A Lady and Gentleman in Black, and Vermeer's The Concert, believed to be the single most valuable stolen painting in the world. They take 5 sketches by Degas, a Manet, a Chinese wine vessel, and even a small eagle finial from a Napoleonic flag. 13 pieces in all, together worth as much as $500 million. By dawn, the thieves are gone. The guards are discovered bound in the basement. The empty frames still hang on the walls, silent reminders of the loss. The FBI quickly takes over. They suspect organized crime. Rumors swirl of Boston's mafia, of gangster Bobby Donati, of deals struck to free imprisoned mob bosses. Others point to neighborhood gangs, but no clear evidence is ever found. The suspects either deny involvement or they die. Not one piece of art has ever been recovered. The museum still offers a $10 million reward, the largest ever by a private institution. The statute of limitations has long expired. Whoever stole the art cannot be prosecuted. Today, over 3 decades later, the Gardner heist remains the most valuable and most haunting art theft in American history.
Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.